What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's happening with the economic calendar as we have more data coming out for tomorrow. What's going on with Nvidia's earnings that just came out, and what the news is saying about NIO as I break down some price action and price predictions for NIO, Tesla, SPY, and all these different tickers. But before I break down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks, and the offer ends in just 6 days from now. Anyways, for NIO, as you guys can see, this thing's kind of trading sideways within this range right over here. But what is good about it is they're trying to base very nicely at this $5 area. Now, as we held up today, we just traded very sideways. I do see potential for this to try to base and actually make an attempt to bounce later on. And I think specifically during the month of June, NIO will see some upside. But for the time being, NIO is kind of establishing a very, very nice looking launch pad for another bounce, which is going to come, I would say, as soon as next week. But in order for this to happen, we have to wait and see how well it holds up at this support and how things end up developing from here. Now, what is good is we have some positive catalyst for the markets. The first thing is SPY and the QQQ are likely going to launch upwards tomorrow, as we just had Nvidia's earnings, and Nvidia absolutely crushed it. And that's despite the fact that we got a little sell-off today after some bad news came out. So I'm going to break down all the news for you very, very quickly, talk about Nvidia's earnings, and break down some news about NIO before I break down these charts. So the first thing I want to say is that for tomorrow, it's going to be Thursday, May 23rd, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have initial jobless claims coming out, continuing jobless claims, and a couple of things like that, not to mention the S&P Global Composite PMI report. Then we have new home sales at 10 a.m. So all this is going to be very important for the markets, especially the first 15 minutes after market open when we have the PMI report. Despite that, I just want to make it very clear that right now, Bostic from the Fed is also going to be giving a speech a little bit later on, going into tomorrow. And then when it comes to Friday, we have a lot more data coming out that's going to be important from Michigan consumer sentiment. But nothing else that's like that insane compared to like a CPI or FOMC or something. Some data comes out tomorrow, but that's it. For today, we had the FOMC minutes. The reason why the market dipped is because a lot of the Fed officials were saying that inflation is still at a very, very tough place, and the Fed may have to do a lot more work. And a lot of things like that, they were very, very apprehensive about the current inflationary situation, which led to the market kind of performing the way it did. Now, one thing worth noting is the fact that they're saying that they have a 2% target that's still been established. In order for them to maintain this, they're going to continue to do what's necessary. I personally actually am in agreement with them that they have to be prepared for anything just to be safe, and we shouldn't necessarily downplay the current situation. On top of all of this, I just want to mention that right now we also have the market fear and greed index is currently at greed still. It's going to likely maintain this, especially because I think SPY does have more upside potential. The market could still try to hold up. The puts and call option positioning is currently a little bit down because of the fact that we're starting to see more puts being closed and calls remaining as at ease right now. So that's actually very important. And then we also have the VIX. The VIX is also in a very, very critical place because it's continuing to fall, not really giving us much of a sign of a bounce or anything like that quite yet. For Nvidia, we just had earnings. They just announced their earnings about an hour ago, and things are looking pretty good. Shares went past $1,000 for the first time on AI-driven sales surge. On top of this, the EPS was $6.12. That's actually above the $5.59 adjusted EPS. With revenue being $26 billion, that's actually above the expectation of $24.65 billion as well. And Nvidia is expecting its sales of about $28 billion in the current quarter, which isn't bad whatsoever. So pretty good guidance. EPS, which is now once again above what Wall Street was basically expecting. On top of this, we also have some very, very nice looking growth overall. They also announced big changes, such as the fact that they're going to be doing stock splits, which is going to be very useful to help drive the share price up. It's going to make it more affordable for different investors, and it's going to incentivize more growth as well, and other big developments as well. But for the most part, very, very great looking improvements to the company, lots and lots of growth, not to mention a potential buyback is also another thing they talked about. Very, very amazing stuff for Nvidia. That's why the share price is soaring. That's going to help the market most likely for tomorrow. Some good news for NIO is NIO signs a partnership with Memo. That's actually with the Hungarian university to enhance the local engagement. That is good news for them as we're starting to see more incentives for their growth. On top of all of this, there's also news coming out right over here that in China, we just had their insurance registrations come out. The numbers for NIO were also pretty good. We actually got another solid 4,000 plus delivery week, which is not bad whatsoever. But if you get four of those in a row, you're going to have about 16,000 deliveries. If you get 5,000 delivery weeks in a row, you're going to have 20,000 deliveries. So NIO is showing much better numbers, nice increases for the last 3 weeks. And I do project even more growth to be coming, especially as we approach the very, very last week of May. So not bad whatsoever. With Envda coming out, that's going to be another bullish catalyst, and we're starting to see a lot more optimism amidst this report. For May 23rd, when NIO's largest NIO house in Europe is set to officially open its doors, that's going to be very interesting. To see how the event ends up developing. So that's going to be very interesting. Besides that, there's also some news coming out right over here about what's happening with NIO's current analyst rating. JP Morgan has upgraded NIO to a neutral rating. On top of this, we also have the price price ratio, which is holding up relatively well. This is showing that NIO is building a little bit more strength compared to the before. And then for seasonality, we're only green about 40 or about 50% of the time on Thursdays. Fridays do tend to be a little bit better, so we'll see how things go for tomorrow. We also tend to see more green around 1 p.m. and also during the final hour of the trading day, at least historically. On top of all of this, I just want to call out that volume is currently just under 37 million. That is still, despite being a little bit below average, it's still not too bad. And overall, I'm seeing some very, very big developments on the chart. So, what do I see for the chart moving forward? What is my personal opinion? In my opinion, right now we're in a period of consolidation for NIO, but I think that this is just helping it kind of get ready for the month of June, which is when it's going to see a very, very big bounce into the $6 area again. Notice how every time NIO hits this $5 area, it does like to kind of rebound off of this. I think that's we're kind of forming a nice base for another push after deliveries come out. So I favor more upside for later, and we'll have to see if that ends up playing out. I think for now, we're just going to continue to kind of chop around this range. We could try to bounce tomorrow, reach this 5.35, continue to trade sideways for another flat day. But I do favor the upside a bit more. I think that Nvidia is going to help drive the market higher. So I do think that's going to help NIO to some extent. So look for a push for 5.3, then some more sideways price action before a potential green close over the next 2 days. But I do think tomorrow could be a decent day. Nvidia, currently, it's on fire right now. The price is at $1,005 a share. That's a new all-time high. This thing has absolutely exploded. And Nvidia, in my opinion, is going to help the market push higher as buyers are stepping in with a very, very bullish looking earnings report. So, with this being said, we have a very, very nice surge in Nvidia. There's no sign of it breaking down yet. It's still holding above 1,000 nicely and has potential to push even more tomorrow, at least temporarily. And that could be very, very bullish for SPY and the others. So with that being said, for tomorrow, I think that SPY is currently at 530.5. We're actually 1 point away from the all-time high. We got a little bit of a dip thanks to the Fed, but I feel like they just use that news as an excuse. Remember, they use news as an excuse to essentially drop markets because they're trying to drive liquidity in different places. And they grab liquidity as a result of that because I think that we're getting ready for another push. So this could be a nice double bottom like structure. If we break the all-time high, we're going to be looking for a push to 533. I think at least 533 is very probable for tomorrow if we break the all-time high. We're only 1 point away, so it's very probable that's going to happen. So I favor upside in my personal opinion. For Tesla's kind of shuffling right here at this 179 area. As long as we hold this 178 zone, I think we could get a rebound to at least 182, but we have to hold 178. If bad news comes out and we lose it, then it is what it is, guys. We're likely going to test the 200 EMA, which is at 176.5 to 175, but I favor a bounce as a stronger possibility. For the QQQ, we're going to be looking at new all-time highs. It actually broke all-time highs in the after hours, so we're going to be looking for a push for about 458 and eventually 460 in my opinion. That's my target. I think 460 is likely coming for the triple Q. For Aapl stock, I think that Aapl has resistance currently at 191, and we have support all the way down here where this imbalance is at 189.3. So overall, I am seeing some potential in this to try to kind of rebound a bit. I do believe that there's a very good chance that that's going to happen. I think that Aapl could actually get a little bounce tomorrow once the time is right and try to retest at least 191.5 where our 20 EMA happens to be. For a few more, looking at Amazon, Amazon's actually a little bit, it's kind of green. It's kind of flat right now in the after hours, but we have a nice looking divergence. Going to be looking for a test of 183.5 and some sideways price action. If we do break that, look for 185. But I see either a sideways there, a little bit of green. Meta is also trying to rebound right over here. Going to be looking for a test and a push for about 472 again. I do see potential in that. For a few more, we also have GameStop. GameStop is also attempting to push a little bit higher towards our key EMAs. If we hold above 20, there's going to be a bounce to 24 coming. If that breaks, then a bigger push is coming. If we lose 19, there's going to be a dip down to fill this gap at 17, but I favor upside a bit more. I also think that AMC is building momentum, try to push higher. The chart looks bullish now, and I think that AMC may slowly inch its way up towards these imbalances. I think it's going to be pushing for $5 and $6 later on. Within the next 1.5 months, I think we're going to be much higher. So I think there's going to be a bounce coming. And I favor that at least for the time being, just by looking at the charts. With that being said, guys, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. For Bitcoin, for the people interested in this came down quite a bit. We're actually at the 69,000 supports. If we hold that, look for a bounce. If we fail to do so, we're going to be dipping. So we're just testing support right now. I think it might come down a little bit more and then try to rebound back up to about 70K. So give it some time. With that being said, NIO's in a very sideways channel for now. Might get a little bounce tomorrow to about 5.3 inch trade sideways, but eventually I do see a bounce coming as we approach June is the most likely possibility. So we'll see how things go. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow. NIO to the moon because the long term is very bright despite where we are right now, and peace out.